Hey guys, it's Jennifer calling from the Rust Belt Chronicles, and I'm here at the Hard Rock Roxino with Kevin Martin from Candlebox.
A very sick
Kevin Martin, who got to town just in time for a little bit of a snowstorm too. So welcome to...
Why not? Why not?
This is somewhat a new venue, so I've never been here before, but there is music, gambling, restaurants.
It's a great venue. We played here last year. It's amazing.
Is it?
Yeah, very cool. Come on down.
I haven't been here and he's been here. When I was kind of getting stuff together for this interview, I always tell my friends who I'm talking to or what bands I'm talking to, and I have a pretty eclectic group of friends. I'm a 90s kid, so I grew up listening to your music, but like I have friends that are into gangster rap, I have friends that are in metalhead still. But the one thing I think is interesting is that whenever I talk about anything like grunge related, like they all are kind of like, oh, excited, and they all like, oh, I remember that song I remember that song this, I remember that song that. And I was just wondering, what do you think it is about that kind of genre and that era of grunge music that kind of brings people in and keeps them interested?
Well, I mean, mainly it's just there's an honesty to all that music that we haven't. I mean, we had heard, the punk movement of the '70s and the political movement of the '60s. We had heard the disdain for politics and life and not really caring to fit in. But I think it all kind of, in the late 80s, early 90s in Seattle, it all kind of became really prevalent and in the forefront. Everybody was looking at that city just because it was growing really fast. Not only the music scene was amazing, but we had a great sports program there, and the city itself was surviving a great boom. So I think that with that attention and the dissonance of the music and the artists creating the music and the disdain for the rock star 80s thing is what made that scene so special. And no one was afraid to say what they wanted to say. No one was afraid to write songs that maybe made you think about something a different way. Everybody wanted to be an honest poet, and they were, and everybody listened. And I don't know if you'll ever see that kind of movement in music again, not generated in one small community. And of course it spread out to, Chicago had a great musical ride in the 90s as well. There were tons of bands like Fig Dish and Local H and Triple Fest Action and the Breeders and what's Veruca Salt. I mean, there was a great movement in that city, that I think Cheap Trick had started way back when. But Seattle kind of had the bull by the horns at the moment, or by the balls, if you will.
Fair enough. I've seen a lot of sort of 90s resurgence in fashion and some interest in music, but are there any bands out there right now that you feel kind of embody a little bit of that feel from the Seattle grunge area, or is it just kind of...
The new bands?
Yeah.
The Lows out of Detroit, those kids, I don't know what they're eating or drinking, but I mean, everybody in my band last night was like, that band is so fucking good.
Oh.
And that Angelo's he's a star, man. Like, he's going to be a fucking star. And the great thing about him is he's so sweet. And I hope that it doesn't turn him into an asshole, because he deserves it. He gets it. And that band gets it, man. They're phenomenal players. And nobody even knows who they are. Who else? I don't know. I don't think there's anything. I mean, the Virgin Marys are great. Ages out of Los Angeles, state out of Los Angeles. Band that's opening up for us called To Whom It May. They're not grunge. They're progressive art rock. But I think everybody right now is kind of afraid to piss anybody off musically or lyrically, because everybody wants to have a career.
Yeah.
And in this day and age, you can't say, fuck Donald Trump and then hope that somebody's going to play your record, because the country's incredibly divisive. And radio is very political, and the community of musicians that believe that way, it can be ostracized very quickly by saying something like that, especially your fans. The majority of my fans are Midwest based, and I in no way, shape, or form like Donald Trump. But it's just my opinion. The problem is people can't separate that, and bands can't separate that. Knowing that if they say something, they're going to piss off or alienate a certain audience. And that's your job,
Yes.
And if people can't accept that you have that opinion, you don't want them as a fucking fan anyways.
Fair enough.
So there are bands out there doing it. I just, I can only think of like 5.
Yeah. So the business side of things, talking about kind of irritating fans, on the way here I was talking about, I read an article of Doyle was saying that he has to charge his $50 meet and greets because people are stealing his music off the web and not paying for it.
You think I want to meet these assholes?
Yeah, did you read that? So I with sort of all the social media and the changes and the aspect, like how do you feel about that, and how do you feel the best way to get your sound out there is these days and still make a life out of it?
We're not the misfits, I love him though. He's so fucking funny. He does not mince words. I guess when you're where he's at, the history of the Misfits and how many bands they inspired and influenced, and how much of their music is out there for free, I can totally understand it. In my case, I accepted it a long time ago that was going to be the case. Come see me play live. I make more money off of a concert ticket than I do off of a CD anyways. And I guess it, do I like to meet people and shake hands right before a show?
Probably not when you're sick, but
not particularly, but I do, because I love people. And I love our fans. Our fans have given me this 25-year career, and it's great. But you have to find a way to survive in this business. We just started a campaign on Candleboxrocks.com, basically to raise money for our European tour, South American tour, making a record this summer to come out this fall. And that's what we have to do. You're independent. And your fans, we have great fans, that are gracious enough to spend $150 to come back and have a drink with us for an hour before we go on stage. Because that's what we do. We have a cocktail, we get ready for the show. I don't always want to do it, but it's the name of the game, and I'm happy to shake hands with anybody as long as I'm feeling someone up to it.
Yeah, and coughing up along, right?
Yeah.
I've read in a few different interviews where you refer to yourself as a reluctant lead singer, kind of in passing. Why do you feel that? After this many years, you guys are just on your 25th anniversary tour, and you still feel like a reluctant lead singer, or have you kind of adapted to the role?
I don't want to step out there every night. I'd much rather be behind the drums where I started, But it's my job, and it pays the rent, and right now, my voice is just, it's just beat to shit, and I keep beating it to shit, because it's like I'm not so sick that I can't play the show, and your voice warms up to where it warms up to, and you get through it the best you can. All these people hopefully have seen me before when my voice was in the best shape it possibly be in, but it's hard, it's I know the responsibility on me when it comes to making records. People respect my lyrics, they respect my melodies, and that's a hard thing to come up with now, a 7th time around. I don't know how certain musicians can, put out a record every fucking year. I don't have that desire. I don't have that drive. I'm not that prolific. I take my time, and I don't want to be sure that it's the record I want to release. Maybe that's why we only sell 50, 60,000 units every time I release a record because we take so fucking long between them. But it's what I do. It's how I do it and how I want to do it. And but yeah, I'm the reluctant lead singer. I'm not excited to get out there every night and sing songs for sure.
Well, everyone that I've talked to that has spoken to you or has worked with you always says that you're very like humble and you treat people with a great deal of integrity, and they have good things to say about you. And I know you're a team player, obviously. You're a team player because you're here right now, obviously. But is there any band, dead or alive, that would call you up right now and be like, "We need a drummer and we need you," that you would just be like, "I'm going"?
Fuck. Led Zeppelin.
Okay.
I'm a meat and potatoes guy. I'm a total John Bonham cat, so it would have to be something like that. Black Crowes.
I mean, I'm not trying to break up the band.
Candlebox.
I'm just saying,
Candlebox
need a drummer.
I'd fill those shoes. Yeah, I don't know. I honestly would only be Jimi Hendrix or Led Zeppelin. I mean, those are, and The Clash, even though Chopper Headon's the perfect drummer in my opinion. Those three bands would be bands that I would, in a heartbeat, I'd say, later dudes, I'm out.
Yeah. Okay. So, new stuff coming out. You talked a little bit about the campaign for the tour and whatnot. I've heard putting out an EP this spring.
No, we're doing a record. I threatened EPs. You threatened? Well, the label, and I hope they see this too. The label that we're with, they're out of Chicago, and they're great guys. But I needed to light a fire under their ass to get what I needed, and so I threatened some EPs, and then my attorney got on the phone with them, and we got what we wanted. And sometimes you have to do that. You have to make those people that feel as though they're giving you everything give you everything, and they're good guys. And Tim and Mark at Pavement are fantastic dudes, and I hated having to push for what I needed, but I had to push for it, and they gave it to me. So we'll make a record in August, and it'll come out sometime in the fall.
Awesome. So your family guy now, are any of your kids going down the musical track, or is this
Jasper's 11. He has not an ounce of musical ability, which I'm totally happy with. His mom keeps trying to force him into it, and I keep telling her that you can't stick a round hole in a square peg. But maybe he'll figure it out someday. I just happen to be a musical from the age of like 6 on. I knew that's what I wanted. My son loves music, and he loves to dance, he loves to sing. He played guitar for a bit. I don't know if he liked drums, but he doesn't really have it, and I'm okay with that. I'd much rather him be an engineer or something. The world of being a rock and roll musician is not what it used to be. It's really, really hard.
Yeah.
And it's hard on the family, and I miss them both very, very much when I'm gone.
The era that you guys started in, there's been just a ton of losses to just opioid deaths and suicide. How did you kind of keep your head up and stay above that, or keep going when it seems like it's taken out so many people from that area?
I was fortunate enough to not get mixed up into the heroin side of things. I was doing a lot of drugs in Seattle. And then I went to see Midnight Oil on my, what would be my 18th birthday, the night before my 18th birthday. And I had been kicked out of my house for stealing money from my parents to buy drugs. And I went to see this concert, and I was high as a kite. And Peter Garrett scared the living shit out of me. And his conviction and everything that he was singing about, and what he was saying, and about life, and how fucking spoiled, rotten white man is, and it's true. And he's Australian, of course, so he's speaking about the white man of Aboriginal, taking over Aboriginal land and all this shit, and how they fucked the Aboriginals out of everything. We did the same thing to Native Americans. And I was just totally engrossed in that and lost in what he was singing about. I woke up the next day and said, that's it, I'll quit doing drugs.
Wow.
And haven't done them since.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, impressive.
But it took that, it took something like that to really scare. But music was so important to me.
Mm-hmm.
I was friends with Lane, I was friends with Andy, I was friends with Chris, all those guys. But they didn't affect me that way, you know. Andy was very inspirational and just such a caring, beautiful human being. But Peter Garrett just fucking went and pulled my heart out and shook it up and threw it right back into me. And I was like, well, yeah, that's exactly what I'm going to do.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, I'm glad he did.
Yeah, me too. I'm still here.
Yeah, and you guys were pretty much the music through the start of every college party I think I went to. So, but yeah, I'm going to let you save your voice now for the show. And thank you so much for being here and talking to us. And we're looking forward to seeing you play tonight.
Right on. Thanks a lot, man.
And we'll put links to everything you talked about in the information below. Thanks, guys.